M21 first look. One take, not the worst. Hello there and welcome back to another episode of Outside Notes. This one is all about M21 first look. Okay, so M21 is out, which means you probably got your hands on it, but at the time of the recording, I have not had my hands on it just yet, but we're gonna take this episode for a first look. The first stop that I wanna do is, I just wanna go big, all right? I don't wanna ease in with the good commons. I wanna go for the big heavy hitters. Let's look at some of the best rares in the set. These are the cards that you most want to open up, of course, because they are the ones that give you the best chance to win the game. Like this one, Massacre Worm. This card is completely absurd. I know it actually, when you first read it, you're like, okay, so I can kill some of my opponent's small creatures and I got this big worm. This is cool. It's so much better than that. You can do this after combat and their creatures have taken damage and then wipe the rest of their board, do like 8 damage to them, have a 6/5 on your side. This card is insane. It's one of the best cards in the set for sure. And it seems like every color got one of these. Elder Gargaroth, look at what this thing does. You play it for 5 mana. It's a 6/6 Vigilance, Trample, Reach. The 2 first ones are really key though, and I did it in the wrong order. Vigilance and Reach are super important because when it gets into combat, either attacks or blocks, which is key, you get one of these great bonuses of the 3/3 life for the card. But the key here is that with Reach, nothing can attack into it basically in the set. If they attack into it, you're gonna get a beast, you're gonna get a card, or you're gonna get your 3 life, and they're probably gonna lose their creature. And with Vigilance, you can attack to get the trigger and also block on the other side, assuming that your Gargaroth survives. That's insane. Elder Gargaroth, again, one of the best cards in the set. And then we get to Baneslayer Angel. Baneslayer Angel's one of the best creatures for a limited that they've ever printed. The only downside is that if they kill it immediately, you don't get anything. But beyond that, this card is basically unbeatable. Combat for your opponent becomes impossible. Racing becomes impossible. Blocking isn't a thing. Baneslayer Angel is one of the best individual creatures they've ever made, and I'm super stoked to see it back. These type of cards, especially the Gargaroth, the Baneslayer, the one we're about to see, the Terror of the Peaks for red, they demand that you manage your removal. This is absolutely key in this format. If their best bomb doesn't do anything the turn it enters the battlefield and you can untap and kill it, that's how you can beat it. So make sure that if you think your opponent has one of these cards, you save your key removal spells for it at absolutely all costs. The last that I just mentioned is Terror of the Peaks. And Terror of the Peaks is kind of a typical dragon style card, but it's souped up a bunch, 5/4 flying for 5 mana. You're already happy with that. If they kill it, they do lose the life. So you're getting something out of Terror of the Peaks either way. But even then, if they do kill it, they're still gonna be like, whew, glad I only had to pay the 3 extra life. And if you get to untap with Terror of the Peaks and start casting other creatures, the game is over. Now, where's Blue's? Blue didn't really seem to get one of these cards. The mythics out of Blue weren't actually super bombs, but there is a colorless one that Blue could play. It's Ugin the Spirit Dragon. I love Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Now, when you see 8 mana, you're probably rightfully gonna say, really? I need to get up to 8 mana to cast this thing? That's a lot. And you would be right, it really is. So the question becomes, if you do get to that 8 mana spot, what is your reward? And your reward is you win the game. That's right, Ugin basically is unbeatable if it hits the battlefield. You can use the minus ability to wipe out everything and reset, but you have Ugin. Or if you're at parity or even ahead, you can use the plus ability to manage individual threats. And with the loyalty effectively starting at 9 if you want to, Ugin's not gonna die in combat. Ugin to me is one of the best cards in the set, but you really do need to make sure that you can cast it, and that includes maybe putting it in a deck with green or a way to ramp out your mana. So those are the best bombs, but what are the best common for each color? Without having played the set yet, I went through and picked which ones I thought. For white, Basri's Acolyte. This thing is the dream curve filler, 2 white, 2/3 lifelink, and you're gonna get to put counters on up to 2 creatures, so make sure you have a 2-drop, and a 3-drop, or a 1-drop and a 3-drop, or a 2-drop and a 1-drop ahead of the Basri's Acolyte, and you're gonna be in a great position to win the game. For blue, Easily my favorite card in this set, Roaming Ghostlight. It is a ghost jellyfish made after one of my favorite cards. In fact, look right behind me. That's the original art for Man-O-War from Portal. This is a flying Man-O-War with 3 power that is freaking awesome. I love this card. Very strong contender for being my favorite card in the set, even by the end of the set. Black's best common, Grasp of Darkness, I think takes this. For the efficiency that you get at black, you can kill creatures that cost 4, 5, even 6 mana for only 2. And if you combine that with combat, it can kill basically anything in the format. This level of efficiency isn't something we see very often, and I think this is going to be one of the best commons in the set. In red, we see the same thing, Scorching Dragonfire. Now this one doesn't get you quite to that 4, it's only 3 damage, but that's still very efficient, and sometimes the exile effect matters as well. Cheap burn spells is where it's at, and remember, Scorching Dragonfire, a lot better than Shock. I'm sorry, Shock, but 3 and 2 are very different numbers when it comes to toughness in limited. And for green, I think it's just going to be Llanowar Visionary. This is Elvish Visionary and Llanowar Elves merged together. And those are both cards I'd be happy to play separately. If you give them to me both on one card, I'm in. This card is fantastic, and I think it's going to lead to a lot of wins for green. Now, as I mentioned, this set just came out the day that I'm recording, so I figured I would call somebody who's already had their hands on these actual cards for a pre-release. Let's see how Graeme from Loading Ready Run thinks about M21 Limited.
One sec.
It's Graeme Stark. Oh no, he's working. Oh.
It's fine. I thought it was somebody else.
Graeme, how are you? It's nice to see you. Did I interrupt something?
No, don't worry about it. How's it going?
It's good, man. I'm talking with my friends on Outside Notes here about M21 Limited, and I got to keep it real with them. I haven't played it yet. It just came out the day that I'm recording, and I thought, who do I know who actually has played with these cards? And I thought of you because you guys did the pre-release over for Loading Ready Run. Oh, look at that. Cards in hand and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to know some of your early thoughts on the format. So let's start big. What are your broad strokes thoughts about the format after having played it a bit?
I mean, it seems like such a cliche that it's one of those core sets that's like, is this really a core set? This is really powerful and fun. You know, like,
oh, okay.
I don't know at what point we stop saying that. I don't know when we start realizing that core sets are actually generally always pretty powerful and fun, but this has a lot of cool stuff in it.
I always look at the core sets and I try to figure out how close to the vest did they do this, right? Because you're going to see a lot of creatures with power and toughness and like an ability.
Right.
What about it kind of stood out to you to add a few wrinkles or to make things a little more in-depth?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. I think that there was enough complexity to make things interesting from gameplay decisions, because there wasn't as much complexity in the mechanics. Like there's some cards with prowess, there's like creatures entering tapped and attacking, but like there's not really any sort of like marquee new mechanic. But there's stuff like, let me talk to you about one of my favorite commons. This guy, Sabertooth Mauler.
Oh, the cat, the big cat.
Yeah. So, okay, 3 and a green, 3/3 cat. That's it. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Sabertooth Mauler and untap it, right? And so you get to do these little things where it's like, if you play that pre-combat and attack with something, they're going to be like, oh, if I just jump with my 1/1, then that thing gets bigger. I'm not going to do it. So you wait and you attack, and then they're like, fine, I'll jump with my 1/1. Then after combat, you play this, and then suddenly it's a 4/4, and it's like taking advantage of hidden information in the way that these cards work. It's sort of, the cards are mechanically more simple in a vacuum, but they let you make some more interesting gameplay decisions, I think.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, to me, that seems to be the sweet spot for a core set, right? Where you can get depth of gameplay, but not by just putting a big, flashy, complicated, think mutate or whatever new mechanic on a card where it's like, what does this do again? And then you're, okay, I get it. And then you can start to fold into the strategic stuff. But one thing I think that people forget a lot is that Magic has a lot of complexity and depth to it even if you don't include those more complicated things. For your deck, what did you build? What colors were you?
I was in red-green. I honestly didn't open like an astounding pool. You can check out the deck build because we did the whole thing with my deck build. But I ended up red-green. I had a Leafkin Avenger, which is the signpost uncommon. I watched episode 9, and didn't end up on. Everyone just killed it immediately. So. It must be good. And there's this low-key, I say there's like no mechanics in the set, but there's like a low-key ferocious mechanic where there's a lot of cards that care about creatures with power 4. And so there's a lot of cards. I mean, the Leafkin Avenger as well. There's the Onake Ogre, so it's a 4/3 for 3. But there's a lot of cards at 4 power that like to sort of really help other cards, pop off. And my big rare for the deck was Volcanic Salvo.
Oh, yes.
So it deals 6 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures or planeswalkers. But it costs 12 mana on paper. But it's red, and 10. But it's X less, where X is the power of creatures you control. When it came time in the game for me to actually cast it, I was like, okay, let me just count up my... Red,
really?
2 creatures. Yeah, I like whooped into having 11 power of creatures because I had like a 2/2 and a 2/2 and a 2/2, and then that 5/7 I talked about. I'm like, wait, that's 11 power. This thing's 2 mana. I just get to kill 2 creatures.
You were getting 6 damage per red mana symbol out of that card?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's just absurd. I want to know what you want to do in the set. If anything caught your eye, are you got your eye on blue-red spells or a black-white deck? What do you like? What do you want to do? What are your goals?
You got it on your first guess. I want to do the blue-red spell.
Awesome. Yeah, I do too. That's why I brought it up.
Kathleen's deck also had 2 of the Tome Anima. So it's 3/3 for 4, but it can't be blocked as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. Right. And just like in, it was Eldraine that had the draw 2 spells sort of theme.
Yeah, I think so.
And just like that one, I read that and I was like, drawing 2, how are you going to do that reliably? And I'm like, wait. You draw a card, you draw 1 card automatically. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's one of them. And then there's so many ways to draw another card. There's a looter. There's a 1/2 that draws a card when it attacks. It's probably not living through combat, but okay. There's, in Kathleen's case, she also had the blue Sanctum. So it just means every turn she's drawing a second card automatically every turn, and it just means these 3/3s are just unblockable.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to drafting that one as well. Mainly just because I want to play as many ghost jellyfish as they'll let me.
I thought you'd like it. It's a bigger mana war that flies.
Oh my God, I'm in love, Graeme. Like, I haven't felt this way in so long. My heart is free. I'm super stoked for it.
I mean, I ended up in Gruul. I was trying to go Teamer because I had a Roaming Ghostlight and the absolutely ludicrous blue rare that's like it's like a parody of Cryptic Command. It's just like...
Oh, you had that? Oh my God. You know what? You just reminded me. So earlier on this episode, I went over like the big mythics, like the biggest rares for each color, and blue somehow didn't get one. I'm going to go down in rarity and go for that one. So we'll retroactively add that because that card has a laundry list of awesome stuff, and you get to choose as many as you want.
Yeah, you can be like, counter the creature. Also, you don't get to do that. Also bounce that thing. Also, I draw a card, and you can just start making stuff up at that point. You can be like, also you mill 2, and and I get to loot, and your opponent will probably be like, I believe you. This card's absurd.
Well, Graeme, I wanted to say thanks for hanging out and giving us your the earliest possible take we could get on M21. You guys are going to be doing more Magic stuff coming up, your streams and all that?
Oh, yeah. We stream Magic twice a week. We do arena stuff every Thursday. And then ordinarily we do paper Magic every Friday. Some weeks we still are doing paper Magic just through the power of the internet. But yeah, we do a lot of Magic every week.
Graeme, thanks a lot. We'll see you later, bud.
All right, cheers.
As always, great to hear from Graeme from Loading Ready Run and to keep up with them. And yeah, hey, I got to use the resources I have, right? If my friends have had their hands on this set before everybody else, I'm going to ask them. All right, so before we take off, a few highlights. I managed to even find some from the early access event, and let's see what we've got.
Rush.
I'll be back.
Yep, no rush.
Why am I doing all the walking?
Oh, it's fine.
Ben Wheeler just put shock on the stack after other Ben Ulmer walked away from the table for a minute. That is so rude.
There.
Thanks.
Are you passing it to me?
No, I have a spell.
Is it shock? I don't believe that you had that. I left the room and I couldn't see your I refuse to acknowledge that shock.
Oh man, that is just like bad manners at the highest level. All right, this next one comes from our friend Voxy, who usually swears too much for me to use any of her clips,
Somebody
but
did it to me earlier where
managed
they
not to
put
here.
in the rewind is bad in this deck, they say. As I counter this, untap and play cultivate on my turn. Get out of here.
And this last one is spelled wrong. And this last one is one of the early Massacre Worm sightings.
Oh.
Oh, brutal.
War das ein guter Zug eigentlich? Ist Massacre Worm eigentlich gut?
And what he said, I happen to speak German. What he said was, is Massacre Worm actually good? Just get like a stone cold 3-for-1 off of that card and set up the victory for the next turn. And that's what you can expect from those level of bombs in the set. That is going to do it for this episode of Outside Notes. I hope you're having fun with M21, and make sure you hit me up on Twitter or wherever you can to show me what cool decks you have or what cool plays you've made. I always love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for hanging out with me for this episode of Outside Notes. If you want to get notified when new videos go up on the channel, you can hit subscribe below, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.